In this lesson, I'm going to be going over some of the clay tools and how they work. So the first tool that everyone will probably need is the clay sponge. So this sponge mostly stays in the bucket, and in the little cup there should be some water in there. We can always add more water if we need to, but this one we use by touching it with our fingers and then wiping our fingers on our clay. This helps to smooth out any creases or cracks that are starting to form in your clay. So that is what that tool is for. So again, water onto your fingers, fingers onto your clay. The sponge shouldn't really come out of the bucket and certainly doesn't like drip across the room, and we don't rub the sponge on the clay. It's our fingers that rub the clay, okay? Then our next tool are some of our tools here. So we have a pointer tool. Our pointer tools here are just a paper clip taped onto a popsicle stick. Sometimes they do get bent if you're trying to cut too much clay, so try to straighten it out as much as you can before you return it to the bucket for someone else to use. This is an all-purpose tool used for making lines, decorative details, scoring the clay, and the back end can be used for smoothing. You can cut pieces off. You can do a lot of things with this. One other big important thing when doing clay is how do we attach pieces of clay together. You might have a thing that you want to attach on, but doing that is not going to stay. It's going to come right off. It's not attached, not really. You just push it on there. So to actually attach two pieces of clay, you want to use something called slip. Slip is the super wet clay that kind of looks like mud. It's a little bit mucky, it's a little bit yucky, but it's super useful and helpful when we want to attach clay pieces together. So the first thing we do is something called scoring. Scoring is boring. We draw lots of lines. So let's say I have this piece and I want to attach it like that. Where does it attach? It attaches here and here. So I'm going to draw some scoring. Scoring, we draw lots of lines to rough up that clay surface, to give it a sticky place to sit, and I also rough up the part that attaches. Then I take a little bit of that wet clay and I put it where that rough spot is. Slipping is sticking. I like it just fine. So I press that in, and then I do something called smoothing. Smoothing is soothing. It relaxes my mind. I can smooth with the tool, I can smooth with my finger, but I want to make sure I join those two pieces of clay together till they're smooth and solid. Then, where I want the next connection, I'm going to do that same thing again. So score, score, slip, scrape the rest back in the bucket. I don't need all that. And then press together and smooth. It is your fingers that touch the clay bucket, the slip bucket, but if you are scraping away with the tool and the tool gets the slip on it as well, you can scrape that back in. We're not putting the tool, though, into the bucket at any time. When you're done for the day, please make sure you wipe off your clay tools, return them to the bucket, close that slip bucket, tap your clay around your mat. Make sure you get all those little bits and pieces back into the clay. Return this to the bag and clean up your station.